It is midday in the Queen City. Business is booming, and sisters are doing it for themselves. Also, for sandwich lovers in Cincinnati, let's do lunch. Cincinnati is a city that means business. Fortune 500 company HQs, renowned institutions like Children's Hospital and the Cincinnati Zoo, and letters that everyone here knows: TQL, GE, CVG, UC, and X. It's also a city that's large enough for new ideas to take root and grow. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you're in business. I'm Jack Crumley, and this is The Working Lunch. Hello, welcome to The Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. This is our hour-long business show here on The Crown, where we bring you updates about what local companies are doing. We bring you interviews with local leaders, exclusive interviews with CEOs, and we do try to squeeze in a bite to eat before you go back to face the afternoon. That's what's on tap for today. Let's get at it. Before we get to Cincinnati business headlines, we're hitting the weekend box office, and as you might guess, to the surprise of no one, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey had big promises made going into its opening weekend, and it certainly did them as well, doing better than expected, raking in over $124 million in the U.S. and generating over $264 million worldwide. That is a new record for Nolan, beating what The Dark Knight Rises did back in 2012, which, as I recall, opening weekend for that film had a mass shooter incident at movie theaters that probably had an effect on that opening weekend box office. The Odyssey showed in 73 territories, over 12,000 locations, and shown on over 25,000 screens. It's the second best start, box office-wise, for an R-rated movie overseas, following... what was the number one? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? Deadpool and Wolverine. One of the big drivers of the Odyssey's big box office haul was premium format screenings, IMAX. This thing was shot on 70mm IMAX cameras, the first big budget feature to ever do that. IMAX reported nearly $30 million in sales for the weekend. That's nearly a quarter of what the domestic take was. Half of all moviegoers were 18 to 34. We've talked on this show about how Gen Z is really fueling a resurgence of American movie theaters. They're going to the theater. They're buying tickets. Hollywood looking at $10 billion at the box office this year. This weekend, movie money reporting is all about The Odyssey, though I am a little bit surprised that you saw their Moana stayed ahead of Minions and Monsters to claim the number 2 spot. I suppose that says more about the staying power of Disney as a brand more than anything else. I have not yet seen The Odyssey. I did go to the movies to see The Invite over the weekend. It's really funny. Director Olivia Wilde got some excellent performances out of that small cast of 4. The Invite did just shy of $4 million now that it's in wide release. And for the big movie buffs who spent months waiting for The Odyssey, some tickets for that movie went on sale a year ago. For them, now it's this.
I have nothing left except Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out in 2 weeks. Lots of good buzz on that one. It could bring in well over $100 million for its opening weekend. We'll see how that goes. For your Cincinnati business headlines on this Monday, the goodbye announcement was made earlier this month by the Bryant family. They ran Country Meat Company Marketplace in Avondale. The goodbye announcement was made earlier this month. They closed down in the Avondale Town Center. The family saying the decision was not made lightly. They are planning more for later. Meantime, the owner of the Avondale Town Center, the Community Builders, putting out a press release recently saying that there will be a new grocery store coming to that space. CEO Bart Mitchell saying that his group believes in the strengths and the potential of the Avondale Town Center. Avondale currently fits the definition as a neighborhood of a food desert. That means no fresh food available within a mile of the neighborhood. The nearest grocery are Kroger stores in Coreyville and Norwood. We are working to see what new food option is coming to that Avondale Town Center space. In local arts news, I was lucky to see one of the performances of Lalo Vavi earlier this month with the Cincinnati Opera, part of a brand new Black Opera initiative. And now the Cincinnati Opera has announced that Jamie Meyer, you see her there, she's the new CFO for the opera. She was previously with the Chartis Group, where she advised healthcare executive teams about financial planning and forecasting. She'll now oversee the Cincinnati Opera's financial planning, budgeting, and more. The Cincinnati Opera is a multi-million-dollar arts nonprofit here, over $10 million in revenue reported last year. And finally, I have done my best to avoid talking about this cyclospora outbreak because, well, this is a dignified show. But I thought that this update that was posted online early this morning was worthwhile. That is a post made by Taylor Farms this morning, saying that the FDA testing, which found cyclospora in Taylor Farms produce, was a false positive. It says no products have actually tested positive for cyclosporiasis. I hope I'm saying that right as of now. The false positive does not change Taylor Farms' earlier voluntary recall that affected products here in the tri-state. Hamilton County leaders say 17 cases of that infection have been reported. 12 of them have been confirmed. So there is an issue with something. That's all still under investigation. I would also imagine we could be hearing about some kind of lawsuit now, as the announcement has been very bad press for Taylor Farms. I'm of an age where I remember a similar issue with green onions is what basically killed the Chi-Chi's restaurant franchise back in the day. Anyway, now for today's Big Bite, which I admit there is a bit of a pivot going on here. I'm very excited to have the owners of Carl's Deli coming on the show, Cameron Kurtz and Sydney Turnbull. And since we are talking about some of the best sandwiches in the city, I wanted to go over Cincinnati's history as Porkopolis. The early to mid-1800s, really a pivotal time in Cincinnati history. We've talked about before. That's when Nicholas Longworth started turning the land he owned into vineyards to kickstart this area's international wine boom. Cincinnati was chartered as a town in 1802, and within just a few years of that, steamboats and the Ohio River helped Cincinnati grow to a population of nearly 10,000 by the year 1820, about the time that it was chartered as a city. During this time is also when service businesses like restaurants and hotels started growing here because of all those travelers who were coming through. This is when Finley Market was developing as one of 9 public markets in the area, although it would not get its famous central tower until about 1850, during a time of really rapid growth. 1850 is when the first Jewish hospital was established here in the U.S., and Cincinnati's population hit over 115,000. Excuse me. This is also about the time revolution in parts of Germany and parts of Europe fueled an immigration push into this region, with Germanic people accounting for about a third of the population. That's when we saw that big Germanic growth here locally. What we now know as Central Parkway, running right outside this studio, is where the Miami and Erie Canal ran through town, feeding into the Ohio River. Those waterways were crucial for the growth that this area saw, how farmers in the north, northern Ohio, southern Michigan, got their hogs to market. This is where the Porkopolis fuel would come from. That water, and of course the German population here, is also where the term over the Rhine came from, as travelers crossed the canal, went over the Rhine. But back to the pigs. Shout out to the Cincinnati Nature Center for producing some really interesting videos like this one that explains the surprising role that nut trees like acorn played in developing Cincinnati's pig population.
As the United States swept westward into what is now Ohio, pioneers brought this tradition of pig rearing with them. Early farmers in the Cincinnati area would turn their semi-feral pigs over into the forest each fall to nosh on the abundant beech nuts, acorns, and hickory nuts that grew here. Mast was so important that the value of land was for a time based on the number of nut-producing trees on that land. This practice continued into the early 1800s as Cincinnati's pork processing industry grew into a behemoth of stockyards and disassembly lines. Its location on the river and newly developed pork preservation techniques allowed Cincinnati to corner the hog market. Each fall, farmers and fatteners would drive pigs by the hoof into downtown Cincinnati. Pigs wandered loose in the streets and alleys, running underfoot. The smell was, let's say, unpleasant. As one 19th century British traveler wrote, "As there is a railway system and a hotel system, so there is also a pig system, by which this place is marked out from any other. Huge quantities of these useful animals are reared after harvest in the cornfields of Ohio, and on the beech masts and acorns of its gigantic forests. At a particular time of year they arrive by thousands, brought in drove and steamers to the number of 500,000 to meet their doom, when it is said that the Ohio runs red with blood."
Again, shout out to the Cincinnati Nature Center for that kind of work. Let's look at that last pic you saw in that video, though. It's a picture from Harper's Weekly, obviously not a photograph, from 1860. People driving hogs to slaughter right along Cincinnati residential streets. Anyone ever talking about Cincinnati history is probably referencing the writings of Charles Sist. He began publishing books about Cincinnati as early as the 1840s, and he's written about a million things. He says that was when this area had 4 dozen packing houses that employed 1,200 men and produced more than $3 million worth of packed pork. 1840s. The nickname Porkopolis was first published at about 1840, but it had roots going back to the 1820s when a banker named George W. Jones, known as Bank Jones, so he really cornered that market, often talked about the number of hogs roaming the streets for slaughter in letters that he wrote back to Liverpool. That person he wrote letters to ultimately gifted him a pair of papier-mâché pigs, was dubbed to have been from Porkopolis. The name was a goof, probably not a compliment, and it apparently stuck. Getting back to 1860, when that Pigs in the Streets picture's from, pork workers in Cincinnati doubled to 2,400 men, and nearly 500,000 hogs were slaughtered here every year. At least that was at the peak. We were growing a reputation for being a wine capital of the world around that time. That wouldn't last, of course. Diseases like black rot took a big chunk out of the local wine industry, and the Civil War did the rest. For the pork business here, it was also the Civil War that cut off Cincinnati's primary southern trade routes. Getting those pigs packed up and shipped south to areas like New Orleans became an issue. Also, the rise of railroads is really what made our riverfront less important. And as the frontier moved west, railroads allowed hogs to be processed directly in cities closer to the Great Plains, like Chicago and Kansas City, making things more efficient. But, you know, destruction does lead to creation, and all that pork did mean a massive surplus of animal fat, and there was a usage for that animal fat. As you might know, guys like English candle maker William Proctor and Irish soap maker James Gamble had some ideas on what to do with that stuff, but that's for a future Big Bite that we will get to another time. We are going to take a break, and when we get back, I am very excited to talk to our guests, Cameron Kurtz and Sydney Turnbull, the relatively new owners of a Cincinnati staple, Carl's Deli in Hyde Park. We'll talk to them about all that, get a bite to eat as well. We got more of that coming up. You're watching The Working Lunch on The Crown. Stick around.
This city has always had something to prove. While the rest of the country talked about us, we built our own voice. Blue collar, underdogs, built differently, overlooked, talked about like we were supposed to stay quiet. But that was never who we were, because this city doesn't wait for permission. And neither do we. And now, for the first time, Cincinnati has a network built in its image, because the biggest stories in this city deserve more than highlights. This isn't cable television. This isn't national media. This is ours. This is The Crown.
The Crown has you covered. Start your day with the first word. Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch. Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city. And the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. Built for Cincinnati. First word for your morning sports. The working lunch for business that hits home. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city. And Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
My name is Jack Crumley. I've been covering news in Cincinnati on the radio for the last 20 years. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, but Cincinnati has always felt like home since day one. I've seen so many things accomplished here, and now, with the Working Lunch, I get to write, read, and talk about them every day. Hard-working people with a drive and a dream. Innovative ideas that help shape this city. Cincinnati is a great city, and I'm excited to tell you about it every day.
My name is James Rapine, and I host First Word every weekday morning, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. Prior to joining The Crown Network, I covered the Bengals for Sports Illustrated for 6 seasons. I also am the founder of Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube and wrote the book, Enter the Jungle, A History of the Cincinnati Bengals. Couldn't be more excited to join you every weekday morning for First Word right here on The Crown.
Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. I am happy to be joined now by the owners of Carl's Deli. This is a Cincinnati institution, originally on Observatory Avenue. It's been there for decades. Now has seen some expansion with the new ownership. Sydney Turnbull and Cameron Kurtz, very happy to have the two of you here on the show. Sisters who are business owners. Congratulations. How in the world did it come that you guys bought Carl's Deli?
Yeah, so we actually grew up, so in the Hyde Park location, we grew up like 2 blocks down the street from it. So we grew up going there as kids. We went to St. Mary's. My brother and I went to St. Mary's, which is right behind the Carl's. Sure. So again, it was very intertwined in our youth and growing up there. And then previous owner, Ann, was looking to sell. Honey Baked Ham Company is our family business, so she knew we had experience, grew up in the business. So about 1.5 years after negotiating, it was ours. So yeah.
I mean, what a big. I mean, does that? You've had it since like 22, so maybe there's been a little bit of a time to get used to it. But I mean, Carl's Deli is a really well-known thing here in this town. You grew up near it. You know what a big deal it is. Is that intimidating at all for you?
I think we liked the pressure to some aspect. I think. With Honey Baked, again, coming very parallel, the business structure where it was so community, neighborhood, tradition, family focused, and busy holidays at Honey Baked was very parallel to Carl's on a Saturday where we had those lines for 5 to 6 hours. So I think we did not actually, like, from taking over the business, we closed, say, on a Monday. That next day, we literally started the us taking
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, there's
We
no
didn't close.
downtime.
Yeah, we didn't close at all, and we actually closed in April, so we were able to full-fledged, like, just dive into busy season of Carl's. So, and I think being athletes ourselves, pressure is normal.
Okay.
Pressure is kind of nice sometimes, and to have that and carry the torch and carry the legacy on in another 85 plus years is important to us.
Does the sports angle, I mean, that isn't something I thought about, but
Yeah.
the idea of pressure, does that
Yeah.
figure into the way you guys run the business?
I think so. I think, being an athlete, pressure is every game.
Yeah.
Being like collegiate athletes too, having that pressure is just second nature to us. So knowing the legacy and having been part of it growing up, part of that legacy to some aspects, being a regular customer, it was like we knew what we needed to do to keep it going. And we talk really about our 3 pillars of, community, cleanliness, quality product, and customer experience is so important to us. And that comes from, again, just what our grandma taught us growing up in the honey baked ham business. It was so important to carry it on.
So, I know that the both of you grew up here. Cameron, though, you weren't living here at the time. Did you move back? You were in Louisville, and did you move back here specifically to be co-owners here on this thing?
I did, yes. The opportunity came up. I was working as a project manager at the time in Louisville, had some great experience there, and Carl's came up and we just said, let's do it.
I mean,
let's go for it.
That's a wild change going from what you were doing before to this now.
Sure.
Did it feel that wild?
It did in some ways, but again, leaning on the honey baked ham experience helped a lot, being in those shops during busy season. But I was able to really leverage, I'm big into process and operations as far as the project management experience. So to able to bring that forward to Carl's has been really beneficial, I think. So.
Does that help with the division of labor with 2 owners? Does that sort of define what roles are and who's responsible for what?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And we're big on I know what she's really good at, she knows what I'm really good at, and we're going to trust that we both do what we know we're both good at. And she's really good at the processes and managing that side where, I mean more the customer experience and networking and things like that. But I think a lot of people, when we say sisters work together, that's just normal to us, especially, all of our uncles working together. We saw it our entire lives, so figuring out what works and what are your pros and cons, and run with what those things are really good at.
Yeah, you talked about having this family history with honey baked ham, and the idea now that you've got your own family business, but it's not what the family business was.
Right.
What is the honey baked ham history that you guys share?
Yeah, just do you want to explain it?
Sure, yeah. So it was started by our great-grandfather. He invented the spiral slicer. And ended up starting a ham store down the road as he was not able to sell his invention. So he patented it, started the ham store, passed it on to his 4 daughters, one of which was our grandmother, so on our dad's side of the family. And it just exploded. So lots of hard work. They were both doing, my grandfather and grandmother both had separate careers as well and came together for honey baked. So
now I'm going to ask this question in a way where I acknowledge the idea that you've probably been asked it a million times before, but I mean the idea of having honey baked ham as a sandwich, is that discussed? Does that come up?
It's definitely crossed our mind.
Yeah.
It's a different thickness.
Yeah.
So it would be, and I know the company has tried to come up with more of a thinner deli style rather than the thick cut spiral cut. It's definitely been on our mind, but we haven't launched it just yet.
Because I got to tell you, I always remember hearing when the news came out that Arby's bought BW3. I thought that was a no-brainer to be able to get a sandwich at Arby's, like some of the chicken sandwiches they had, with different Buffalo Wild Wing sauces on it. So I don't know, brand synergy is just such a thing now. I'm sure it's crossed your mind a ton.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you guys have a location in Hyde Park, obviously, is the one that everybody knows for decades. First off, how did things go with the rain last week? Are you guys? Did you fare okay?
Yeah, it was definitely. The neighborhood itself has had plumbing issues.
Sure.
So about 4 years ago, or probably 3.5, we've had flooding in the basement before, but it's been 4 to 6 inches max. So we have a flood alert system that kind of sends us a message like, hey, there's something's going on. It's been triggered. So by the time Cameron had gotten there, it was probably about a foot in our basement. So not ideal scenario. The only items that we actually lost were all dry goods, so like our catering product, extra bags, chips. So a lot of trash that we had to get rid of, but it was important for us. It happened on a Friday. It was important for us on Saturday by 10 a.m. our normal hours to be up and running to keep the business going as much as possible, because all the product upstairs was totally fine. It was just the basement. But we just get in there, clean, bleach, scrub, do everything we got to do, and fill up millions of trash bags.
The challenges of being business owners.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned the catering, and something that has expanded since you guys took over at Carl's there. You've added in the catering stuff, and then also online ordering, along with a whole different location at Findlay Market.
Exactly.
Those are tremendously different things to all add on to the business.
Exactly.
How has that been, adding all that stuff in there?
I would say, so the first one was the online ordering was important for us. So a year after taking over, we launched Chow Now, which is our online ordering system.
Game changer, right?
It's a game changer. Previously, they were like picking up the phone and be like, we're not taking call-ins, we're not taking call-ins. And we were like, we can't do that during the lunch rush.
Right.
So it was important for us to also use a company that is accessible. So if we needed to turn something off, if we run out of something, we can turn it off, or if we need to pause it because the line is too chaotic, we can pause it. It has the flexibility while kind of managing some larger orders that we would get in the line, whether it's 6 to 10 sandwiches. Someone would be like, hey, I have a huge order. We're like, that's great. Just give us 15, 20 minutes. Now the online ordering system, I think, has helped the flow of the entire line. We also have made an additional sandwich station where that we can use it during the line, as well as online ordering specific. So again, it doesn't affect the line, people getting their orders taken care of. It gives us that opportunity to kind of do both. And it's grown our business. We see really large numbers in the online ordering.
Yeah, because I mean, you guys are in a weird spot where there's for sure a line out the door like every day at lunchtime.
Right.
But that can also lead to frustration for people, and you want people to you got to keep that line moving and make sure people feel like they're being taken care of.
Exactly. Exactly.
And how did the catering part now? That's a relatively new addition.
Yeah, it's been. So with Hyde Park being itty bitty that it is, it was hard for us to really market our catering business until we expanded into Findlay Market. So now with our Findlay Market location, we have a huge space, huge walk-in cooler. We have like a hidden kitchen that we can operate large orders. So being able to do that has been a game changer, because before it was hard. We wanted to get there, but we could only have so much space to store larger orders. So Sam Adams down the street from us has done huge orders with us, which has been wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
And we're continuing to build our catering business, whether it's for a bridal party or a big conference or luncheons, things like that. We have been able to finally open up our arms and be like, we can do anything and everything, which is fun.
Yeah, adding in that Findlay Market spot, you're bringing in a whole new customer base on a daily basis in terms of that. And then if that's where you can run the catering out of, I mean, you guys all of a sudden have a lot more revenue streams than what was there before.
Exactly.
Yep.
Congratulations. That's tremendous.
It's been exciting. It's definitely a learning curve of figuring out, what we can and cannot do, and what works, and what menu items we want to lock in for that, since we try to do all cold sandwiches for that catering.
Speaking of what you can and cannot do, because you guys own a business that's been around for decades and is so well regarded and so loved, what do you do? What are the challenges of ownership when it comes to wanting to make improvements, needing to grow and change as a part of existence without alienating a base that doesn't want? I mean, it's Cincinnati for crying out loud.
Right.
How do you navigate that?
Sure. We want to make sure that the experience when customers walk in the door is really positive, regardless of whether they've been there before or it's their very first time coming in. So we're capturing a lot of people, and the way as far as growth looking for us is that we make sure that we maintain that customer base and bring in the new folks and keep them excited and give them a great experience. So that was a big part of growth and expansion for us is thinking about how do we capture the most customers and give them a really great time at Carl's. So, and keeping the same energy and the same vibes as, Hyde Park, that it felt the same when they walk in every time. And so we needed to kind of create that at Findlay, giving its own identity and personality, but also knowing that Findlay Market has its own. So there's some balance to be struck there, but I think we're doing it. So.
I bet it's a constant balance. Look how gorgeous these sandwiches are, by the way.
It's the most popular one right there.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's a 23. It's the Turkey Club.
That's a classic.
It's a classic, and that's why we sold 13,000 of them last year.
Any surprises in taking over a business that's been around like this for so long? I mean, certainly you're dealing with, food costs are crazy for everybody. Cost of labor is always something to balance. And new vendors, I mean, there's still a lot to juggle being relatively new owners.
We condensed our vendor list, so now we have like 4 or 5 people that we really use, and we've been able to build relationships with them, which is wonderful. For instance, Silver Glades, which has been around for 103 plus years now, we've been carrying their chicken salad for ever. Sell about 90 to 100 pounds a week at our Hyde Park location. So I think it's nice to have vendors who are local, and we can text me like, hey, we just ran out of X, Y, and Z. 16 Bricks will drop off more bread for us, which is nice to, again, like create this like little community with our vendors. But yeah, rising costs are definitely going on.
And razor thin margins all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But and that's even with having the catering option, having the Findlay Market location, and the online ordering has got to be tremendous. I'm having flashbacks to that scene in The Bear where the tickets for the online ordering just keep spitting
going.
out.
That happens on a Saturday for sure.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. I wanted to ask you also about the idea of buying this space in 2022 when there were still so many challenges going on for people going out, COVID challenges. What was the motive? I mean, just because it was up for sale, was that the biggest sort of motivator to buy then? That was a rough time to get into the restaurant business.
Which was interesting. She actually, Anne, one of her highest sales years ever was during COVID. Which is very interesting when we are looking at all the numbers. So I think knowing it's a legacy and a staple in the community, people weren't going to let it go away.
Yeah.
And they were going to buy into, at that point, they were buying into smaller businesses. I think everyone was like, what can we do to hold on to all of these staples? And again, that kind of leans into, we wanted the community feeling, and the community is like all in on supporting these small businesses.
That's great.
Which is great. So I think for us, we're never intimidated by a challenge. So for us, we're like, let's go. Let's do it.
With a sports background, apparently that helps. That's really tremendous.
Yeah.
We've got to take a break, but when we get back, we've got more coming up with Cameron Kurtz and Sydney Turnbull. Carl's Deli, a Cincinnati staple. Gonna show off a little bit of food. I've got my mustard yellow tie on. We're moving along here. You're watching The Working Lunch on The Crown. Stick around.
What is The Crown? It's simple, really. Authentic Cincinnati entertainment. Not hot takes from a studio 3 states away. Not national noise pretending to know this city. Rather, bringing a voice to those who call the Queen City home. Where can I watch The Crown shows? Join us live from 7 to 11 a.m. for First Word and 12 to 1 for The Working Lunch on RESN. No live TV? No problem. Stream and interact with all of our content on major podcast, broadcast, and streaming platforms. The Crown is Cincinnati. Loud, passionate, competitive, proud. From early morning sports debates to the business leaders shaping the riverfront, to the fans, stories, moments, and culture that make this place move. Live shows, podcasts, documentaries, digital content built from Cincinnati, for Cincinnati. This is The Crown.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones. Just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this ground adventure, because I've been trying all the new around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That.
My name's Jacob Tissett, and I'm a co-host of First Word from 7 to 11 every morning right here on the Crown Network, where we will break down the biggest stories in Cincinnati sports. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama, where I spent 4 seasons working for the football team as a student assistant, contributing to the 2020 National Championship and 3 SEC championships. I'm a Cincinnati native, a St. Xavier High School graduate, and will bring a local perspective and passion to covering the Bengals, Reds, and everything in between. I'm excited to have you join us on First Word.
Hey, I'm Marissa Contapelli, one of the co-hosts on First Word and a features producer here on The Crown, where I will be out and about in Cincinnati bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City. Now, I know I'm from Cleveland, but I love my Cincy sports. I've been in Cincinnati for almost a decade now, spending the last 8 seasons with the Bengals as a team reporter and senior producer. I am so excited to be a part of the team here at The Crown, and I can't wait to bring you the latest from around the city.
Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. I am joined by the owners of Carl's Deli, Sydney Turnbull and Cameron Kurtz, sisters who are running a Cincinnati restaurant icon here in town, an institution in the city, dealing with all the pressures of doing that. And so happy you guys brought in some stuff. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is our watermelon cucumber feta salad. It's a seasonal. It's so funny. People love it so much that in December, when it's not watermelon season, they still want it. That's our watermelon feta cucumber salad.
Yeah,
again, it's seasonal. Super juicy. I also brought our 23, which is our turkey club. Been on the menu forever and ever. It's the most popular sandwich we have on the menu. And then I brought a really fun sandwich that has been on the menu for about a year and just graduated to the main menu board, the Loud and Layered. So it's a turkey, pepperoni, jardinera mayo, run through. We got veggies. We have mixed greens, onions, banana peppers, cheddar cheese on sourdough.
I mean, listen, I'm only human. There's no way that we. I mean, what are you
just
talking?
go all in.
Do you know all the things that you just said that are in this sandwich? That's crazy. That's extremely good. Is it difficult to figure out what goes on the main board and what's more of a feature thing?
Yeah, so we had on our specials, on the main menu board, we have about 32 sandwiches. And we had specials that, when you think specials, they're like rotational. We have had some specials on there for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So there was a couple sandwiches on the main menu that just weren't selling very well, so we decided to graduate the main staples from the specials, graduate them to the main menu board. So now they'll be there forever. And then we'll start circulating some fun new fall sandwiches coming up.
Now I know we've got, is this the broccoli salad over here?
This is the broccoli salad. Both these are made in-house.
I'll show this off to folks, because
Yeah.
this is a staple right there for sure.
For sure, yeah. So it has the craisins in it, sunflower seeds, cheddar, cheese, bacon, your veggie broccoli.
Speaking of, this being one of the sides, you guys have a section in the space in the Hyde Park location that's that's that case, and we've got a picture of it, this is such a classic part of the restaurant. You guys are dealing in such a specifically, such a little amount of space in that location. That takes up such a big part of it, but that is such a big part of the experience for people.
It really is. And being able to make most of the items in-house, and if it's not made in-house, it comes from another local vendor. Harder's, we carry a lot of Harder's products, and it's the Harder Brothers. They're from the west side. So yeah, the deli case is stocked. Our manager over at Hyde Park, he's great. He makes pretty much everything himself. And it's part of the experience. Most of the time you're getting a sandwich, a bag of chips, and a side.
One of the things that I noticed about the space is that you guys have to, because the space is so limited in there, there had been a bit of a turn that the place had in recent years to make it more of like a bodega with like bistro kind of vibes. Does that space limiting, is that still something you guys are doing with like wine sales and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we cut back on wine. We do just beer, mainly Rheingeist and Third Eye are the only beers. We just weren't selling a ton of wine. Again, I think because of the space. The previous owner had tables in the space. We took those out because we don't have a public restroom, but we get people in and out. We've added, since taking over, we've added 2 more sandwich making stations. So now on a Saturday, we have 4 people who are making sandwiches to get people in and out.
Because you got to keep that line moving.
Yeah, you got to keep going because, we want people in and out in less than 10 minutes, ideally, on a Saturday.
Yeah. Now, Sydney, you also have experience. We talked about Cameron being in the nonprofit space and project management, but Sydney, you do like Orange Theory and fitness stuff.
Yeah.
How do you do all that when you've got like meats and cheeses and stuff all around you?
Balance. It's all about balance.
Yeah.
That's long-term success, right? Being able to do it both. I always like to mention this to people, we carry gluten-free bread. So a lot of people who have gluten allergies or want it as a preference, we carry gluten-free bread, which is another great alternative option. But, save half the sandwich for later, all about balance.
Well, meat's one of the food groups.
Right.
Vegetables are a food group.
Right.
I'm sure sauce is a food group, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You got to make sure you get your sauce serving.
Exactly.
How important is it to you guys both, being women that own this business, the idea of maybe mentoring? I know you've got kids of your own. Tell me about the role that plays in the decisions you guys make as far as management goes.
Yeah, I think, funny little snippet, name is Carl's, but it's been majority female owned.
Right.
Which is very fascinating to me. I think it's important for us to carry the legacy of being women-owned business and showing women and mothers you can have it both. You just figuring out the logistics and the Carl shuffle a little bit. But I think we definitely have younger employees who are in college or in high school, and it's important to us to continue to kind of grow and develop them and show them, being what the experience of owning a business looks like.
Do you guys do like a test kitchen sort of thing where you're thinking of different options and new stuff? The Findlay Market space kind of gives you a room for that, right?
Yes. Our employees are always rattling their brains on something fun. Like we have a really fun sandwich that is almost ready to launch. That will be a fun one at our Hyde Park location. So our manager's been working on that and is, they're always testing something.
Yeah. What's the timeline on that getting ready to launch? What are we still trying to figure out?
Hopefully like 2 weeks. Hopefully 2 weeks.
Is it gonna like a summer themed thing? We can tease it out a little bit.
It's different than we've ever had on our menu. And it's gonna carry a meat that we don't usually have.
Oh.
We're going to carry
seafood, obviously.
I know. Right.
You're going to be doing a seafood sandwich at Carl.
It's going to be, prosciutto will be on it. That's all I'm going to give you.
Some prosciutto.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of like sandwich type that maybe you guys are thinking about leaning into more, whether you're talking about Italian type stuff or, genres of food?
I think we're on anything. Anything we can come up with that's fun and tasty that we can maybe like for the Masters Week we had a pimento cheese sandwich and we kept it for about 10 days and it sold like crazy, so we're open to anything.
What is that? Yeah, I mean, you say that pressure doesn't really bother you because of the sports background that you guys have and currently involved in, but the idea of wanting to come up with new things and taking inspiration from all around, is it difficult to find those inspirational things sometimes?
Not really. I think because we have such a great staff that their minds are always like their end of meal shift. They're always like, "Oh, I'm gonna try. I've always wanted to try something X, Y, and Z," and then all of a sudden you come up with the Loud and Layered, and it's here for an entire year. So I feel like they're always coming up with something.
We were talking at the previous segment about different vendors and finding local vendors that supply for you. Is there opportunity to do, I mean, you know, Hyde Park is such a sort of tight-knit little community. There are other businesses there. Is there an opportunity to pair up? I know you guys do stuff with 16 Bricks already, but I mean, in terms of partnering up, are there other plans in the works or considerations like that?
Yeah, so Viva Coffee in O'Brienville, they sell our sides. They sell our curry chicken salad and our pesto tortellini. So that's an opportunity where our product is in another space to sell, and we love them. They're great. But we try to tap into other, businesses as much as possible, whether they're local or women-owned or something like that is really important to us.
Yeah, sure, of course, and that's what this community always wants to see is stuff working together like that.
Yeah.
Plus, we're coming up on, it's summer now, but fall's coming, holidays are coming. Catering's about to be ringing off the hook, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're excited. We're ready. We're ready for it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sydney Turnbull and Cameron Kurtz are the owners of Carl's Deli. Multiple locations. We know about the Hyde Park spot. That's on Observatory Avenue. It's been there for 80 years.
Forever. Yeah.
Now there's also Finley Market, expanding the base to downtown workers, which is huge. The folks that maybe don't know that you guys are there. With any luck, they do now. And there's a catering option. It's a Cincinnati institution. And I'm so glad you guys came in on the show today.
Thank you so much for having us.
you.
We're excited.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Working Lunch after this. Stick around. We got lunch going on here. You're watching the Working Lunch on the Crown.
Cincinnati, Ohio. We welcome you from Cincinnati, Ohio. Nick had with the fan favorite to put it away. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Oh, what a catch. Cincinnati can't score. What a possession. scores and the Reds win.
Cincinnati sports fans are the best. Loyal, passionate, second to none. This city lives and breathes sports, and now it finally has a morning show to match. I'm James Rapine, and this is First Word, the only morning sports show in Cincinnati and the place where every day starts. We break down the biggest moments and set the agenda for the city. Marissa Contepelli and Jacob Tissett join me to bring the insight and energy you need to start your day. The conversation starts with First Word. First Word, weekdays 7 to 11, part of the Crown Network.
This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritchner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Previews, recaps, breakdowns, interviews, and more. You can find it all right here. Your one-stop shop for a quick dose of college hoops on your morning commute. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, a Cincinnati native, and I have been in media for about 10 years now. Formerly on the radio here in Cincinnati, I grew my love and obsession with finding all things fun in Cincinnati and have now made it my life. I'm originally from the West Side here, and then I've pretty much been a downtown girl ever since college. But I did leave for 7 years, and during that time, I really grew and harnessed and cut my teeth doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, learning how to ski in Colorado, and now I'm back here in Cincinnati, driven by curiosity and grounded by family.
I'm Paul Fritchner. I'm a 2019 graduate of Xavier University, and I've been covering college basketball for 10 years here in the Cincinnati area. I'm the host of the Rebound Rundown, a daily college basketball podcast during the season and a weekly show in the off-season covering everything you need to know about your favorite team. And if you're not a fan of a team here in Cincinnati, I have you covered from the national perspective as well. Follow it on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. Going to be wrapping up the show here. A couple of things I did want to get into. You know, we had the owners of Carl's Deli on just now talking about how they take inspiration from various things that are going on. They've got a pimento cheese sandwich that they took inspiration from the Masters for. I should have asked them if they were doing anything specific for the World Cup because, as I'm told, yes, that's right. I've been told the World Cup has ended. The fever has broke, and we are presumably going to be moving on with our lives. In terms of the money that the World Cup generated, got some facts and figures for you here. FIFA World Cup 2026, the most lucrative sporting event in history, poised to net over $9 billion in revenue for 2026. That's according to estimates from FIFA itself. It is the first time, of course, that we had 48 teams competing in the World Cup, up from the 32 that we saw 4 years ago. And there's a lot of talk about potentially expanding from there. Of course, money-making opportunities abound, even though we know that FIFA is technically a non-profit. 104 matches going on this time instead of 64, because, again, the field of play increased to 48 teams, scheduled across a period of 6 weeks rather than 4. All that means more money for ad revenue. All that means more games for sponsorships. We talked last week about the amount of money that networks right now are considering having to set aside so they can have coverage of FIFA in 2030 and 2034. Of course, 2030, I believe, is going to be when it celebrates 100 years of the tournament. So you can bet your boots there's going to be a lot of money shelled out for coverage on that. In terms of other ways that FIFA monetized this World Cup games, CNBC doing some analysis on that. The organization, FIFA, did draw some criticism over the cost of tickets. I'm sure you saw some stories on this if you're in the World Cup, if you were into the World Cup. But in terms of what people were paying to go to these big sporting events in multiple places, in multiple countries here in the Western Hemisphere, tickets ranged from $60 to $10,000, the median price of admission topping $900. That's according to ticket data, which you would think perhaps that cost of the price of entry was a real barrier for people to come to the matches. But apparently leading up to the tournament, there were a lot of question marks. But in the group stage, the utilization rate of stadiums stayed basically sold out, 99%. So those ticket prices were not off-putting to people, and because of those strong ticket sales, FIFA President Gianni Infantino has already begun floating the idea of expanding to 64 teams for FIFA World Cup in 2030. Again, that's going to be 100 years, so the expansion would certainly make sense. As a nonprofit, the money that FIFA makes is redistributed to build footballing infrastructure in other countries, particularly third world countries. FIFA planning on dispensing $2.7 billion in development between its 211 member states from 2027 to 2030. That's under FIFA Forward 4.0. Looking ahead, the 2030 tournament promises to be even larger. FIFA is setting aside a $6 billion budget, featuring celebrations to mark 100 years of that tournament. A lot of money that was made, a lot of money that's being distributed, and a lot of money yet to be made as we look ahead to future years of the FIFA World Cup. One other thing, it is summertime, and I'm not sure if you knew this, but yesterday, this past Sunday, was National Ice Cream Day. Now, I don't know, did you do a big dinner on Saturday night for National Ice Cream Day Eve? You got your own family traditions on that, I'm sure. Prices for ice cream are always up this time of year because it's hot and the demand is high. But in terms of the cost of things, the price of butter has been coming down, and that has had the average price of a half-gallon of ice cream container in the U.S. below $6 last month. Butter prices came down significantly, nearly 9% year over year. That's according to the Consumer Price Index that just came out last week. In the year 2023, butter was priced at $3.50 a pound. That was the highest level since the mid-60s. It has since dropped to $1.65 a pound. So, in theory, you're seeing the cost of ice cream drop, even though, again, we are in this time of higher demand in the summer. One thing you may not realize about the cost of ice cream and other dairy products is selective breeding and high-tech dairy production playing a big role in increasing the supply of butterfat, which is a key part of the production of ice cream. All that stuff figuring in to bring down the price, and stuff you may not think about in terms of breeding, and the technology that we see on farms every day, all fueling into the ice cream that you get out of the case. I'd like to thank our guests for coming on the show today. Cameron Kurtz and Sydney Turnbull, the owners of Carl's Deli, a Cincinnati institution slinging some delicious sandwiches that I'm going to have to fight off the rest of the staff to finish that one that I took a bite out of. Rodney's already in action stance, which I don't like because Rodney can probably beat me in a foot race to get that sandwich. Two sisters who are running a Cincinnati institution, shepherding on something that we've known for decades and plan on knowing in times to come. Hey, it's a Monday morning. There's a variety of ways that you can watch our show in case you didn't know about it. If you're checking us out for the first time, I really do appreciate that. We are on over-the-air 19.3, Alta Fiber 253, and the various Spectrum channels in Ohio. We're The Crown. Rock Entertainment Sports Network is the over-the-air signal. You can stream us live or on demand. CincyCrown.com is the website. We've got some new Nat Tries That coming out this week, a new Nat Jones show, I believe, as well. Paul Fritchner, who knows what he's doing with that Rebound Rundown. Somehow he finds shows to generate even when college football is not happening. It's very impressive. And, of course, we're back tomorrow morning. First Word with James Rapine, Marissa Contepelli, and Jacob Tissett, bringing you updates. Maybe they'll talk about their plans for the black and white stripes that I know are going to be for that New Year's Eve game. I know they were talking about it. Maybe they can color coordinate for the show tomorrow morning. I'm just pitching ideas here. I'm an ideas guy. What can I say? Thank you for watching The Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. We are back at it tomorrow. Take it easy.